Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection. At 16 years old, today's guest found his calling. He loved teaching, he loved helping students, but there was one moment that changed everything. He was told to teach a young woman with Down syndrome half the moves, just half. And when she celebrated just like she had won the world, he realized something. Maybe success isn't about doing it all. Maybe it's about honoring the step in front of you. So sit back, relax, and grab your favorite beverage, and let's learn more about them. See you there, everybody.
I wanna believe in the truth, but only see what I'm shown. Got the freedom to choose, but can't decide on my own. Follow what the group is thinking, bottle up my intuition till it's popping out the.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Neurodivergent Connection. Today, I'm joined with Joseph Galloway. Welcome to the show, Joseph.
Thanks for having me. You're my first ever podcast. I'm super excited to be here and meet you. You seem like an amazing person so far.
Thank you very much. So, before we jump in, I'd like to start simple. For anyone meeting you for the first time, how do you usually describe yourself when you're not reading a bio or lifting titles?
Really, it's the foundation of tradition. Uh, I'm a huge advocate for traditional concepts, meaning being polite, having manners, showing kindness, just the things that we've lost in the world today. I'm all about that happy smile that with a handshake.
No, I asked that because on this show, we're really interested in lived experience, especially the moments that
Mhm.
change how we understand people, systems, and ourselves. A lot of those moments don't come with labels at first. They just sit with us until we make sense of them later. You shared that one of the moments that showed up early for you around age 16 when you realized teaching wasn't just something you were doing, it was something that reshaped how you saw the ability and progress. So let's start there. Can you take me back to that time and tell me what was happening in your life when that shift first happened?
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of crazy. So at 14 years old, I was introduced to my instructor in martial arts in a very uncommon way. He knew I couldn't afford lessons. He handed me a stack of flyers and said, "Get them out, come to class." That turned into a huge program called the Apprentice Program that allowed me to learn how to be an instructor, a school owner. And so at about 16, I'm teaching, and I only know how to teach one way. I've never dealt with different learning abilities. I didn't haven't dealt with, age differences because even adults teaching adults is different than teaching kids. I only knew how to teach one way. And so my instructor had a student with Down syndrome, and she was an amazing person, super excited, really wanted to accomplish something, but was struggling. And he said, "Hey, I need you to teach her the first half." That first half was only 9 moves, and she just couldn't get it. I only knew how to teach one way. So I taught her the same way I taught everybody else. I didn't know if I had to take shortcuts or do anything different or special. I just looked at her and said, "Let's do it." And so I taught her the same way I teach everyone else. I didn't give up on her. I just had patience. That patience carried a long way. And by the end of the week, she had the first half of the form all by herself, didn't need me to stand next to her. She did it on her own. And she just was filled with joy. I mean, celebrating beyond celebration. Huge high fives, big hug. I was excited. And that moment made me go, man, I'm changing people's lives. And I don't have to treat people different. I just got to treat them as them in the way that they're coming to me to be treated. And so I made a devotion at that point and said, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. Little did I know, 10 years after that moment, I would learn a second lesson. And that's celebrating our victories, no matter how big or small, because I had realized that she had celebrated that one small thing more than I've seen kids celebrate getting their new belts. And she didn't even receive a new belt. So it's very exciting.
I mean, that's something I commend you on is that you didn't give up on her, and that's something a lot of people probably would do at that point. but you kept going and you knew there was something deep inside of her. I mean, I commend you on that.
No, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, what's something about you people don't usually see when they hear your title or your bio?
Something that people don't see is a lot of times when they hear about martial arts, they immediately connect violence. They immediately connect it with fighting. Um, for a long time, it was hard for us to get into elementary schools, and we've seen such a huge fall in discipline in schools. And we felt, well, if we can bring martial arts because of the discipline it has, we may be able to make a change. And schools turned us away left and right because it was violent, and they've had bad experiences in the past. I think really deep down, martial arts is just a huge opportunity to better yourself in every way possible. And that's my goal always, to make you the best version of yourself as I can. And it's not about punching people in the face. It's not about, hitting and hurting people. That doesn't mean we can't if we needed to.
Martial art. I mean, in my mind, martial arts was never about violence. Martial arts was more about discipline. It's teaching you focus. It's teaching you how to be focused on what you do, on every move, on every breath you take. It's not about violence. It's more about protection, about protecting yourself.
It's really about your own growth. So the crazy thing is I've been in less fights as a black belt than I've ever were when I was a teenager, and I wasn't trying to go get into fights as a teenager, but it happened. It's that confidence that comes from it. It's that self-esteem that is necessary to live life for kids, adults. I've seen change in all ages, but when it comes down to your understanding, I appreciate that. But unfortunately, there's so many people in this world that have no idea other than what UFC shows them,
Yeah.
right? They see MMA on TV, and so they see people get, hurt and they get into violent fights. And so unfortunately, that's the stigma that's stuck on what martial arts really can do for people.
Now, before we get into the work, what's been on your mind lately as a teacher and advocate?
Really, right now, part of our motto is always earned, never bought. And a problem I've had for the last, gosh, 15, 20 years is all these martial arts schools that are popping up that don't care about their students. They see them as dollar signs. They make their payments, here's your next belt. You make your payment, here's your next belt. But they don't ask how they're doing in school. They don't ask how they're doing at home. They don't have conversation with the parents so they can be a resource tool to change their behavior problems or encouragement problems, self-esteem problems. If they're dealing with a bully outside the school, how do we accomplish overcoming the bully? Adults, having conversations with the adults. What are they struggling with in life? Are they stuck in a dead end job that they have more value, that they can go achieve something bigger just because they're an adult? So I think that disconnect between real authentic martial arts, that it's a way of life and control, it's a way of growing yourself. I think all of that's been removed and become about money, playing games, loud music. There's a time and place for it, but not every day.
Now, you said your calling to teach showed up around 16. What was happening in your
Mhm.
life at that time?
That's a good question. So I grew up in Sacramento, California, which is vastly different than being here in South Carolina. Um, I grew up in the heart of drugs, gangs, fights, and I was kind of in a situation that was leading that direction for me because I didn't grow up in a rich family. We didn't have money. We were on food stamps. So all of a sudden, this scary big black belt comes to me and says, "Hey, this is for you." And I had no idea what to do. I was very timid. I mean, talk about the saying, "Don't cry over spilt milk." I was the kid crying over that milk. Um, I was very sensitive, very, very small. And once I grew myself, that's when things started falling in place.
Did it feel obvious in the moment or only clear in hindsight?
A bit of both. It was kind of interesting because, like I said, with that young girl, the second that happened, that was like immediate. I knew this is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. Over times, there's a lot of trials. There's a lot of problems that I had to overcome. Not being able to sign up students sometimes, not having a successful school during a period of time. It was a lot of times where I was like, is this really what I want to do? And I took a 3-year break. I stayed working a regular job. I worked 80 hours, in call centers or 40 hours in call centers, made good money, but I was miserable. I crashed. I went through 6 jobs in 2 years. I just couldn't hold anything together. And I couldn't figure out why until it finally hit me. Like I left martial arts, and that was the thing that was holding me together.
Now, before that experience, how did you think about ability, success, or progress?
One more time. Sorry.
Before that experience, how did you think about ability, success, or progress?
I always knew that anything that we strive to do is always going to be hard. And through being taught the way I was in that program, I was taught both physically, emotionally, and through trial and error. If I fall, I got to get back up, right? If I get kicked in the chest and I fall down, get back up, keep fighting, right? And that physical approach is what I took towards my life approach. That not everything's going to work all the time, and that's okay. There's things that I don't have control over. That's okay. If say for example I had a school closed because um, the city wanted to charge us $10,000 for having a bathroom. It was some initiative that the city had moved, wastewater treatment type deal. We were a small school. There was no way we were going to afford $10,000, and so we closed the school. Does that mean I walk away? No, that means I need to find another way to do it again. So I've done this for the last 2 decades over and over and over again and never wanting to give up.
Now, were those ideas ever challenged before this moment?
Absolutely. A lot of times, we go through these struggles that feel like they're targeted at us. And that's the part that we've got to not take personal. And a lot of people go, life is out to get me. It really won't let me do this. So we take it personal instead of going, hey, it's okay. What can I learn from what just happened so I can either avoid it from happening again or better myself and strengthen myself and then make a decision? That doesn't mean what you're going after is the right decision. Maybe another passion of yours is the right direction. And that also could be what that opportunity gives us.
Now, let's go back to the day you were teaching that young woman with Down syndrome.
Mhm.
Can you take me back to that day you were asked to teach the young woman with Down syndrome? What was going through your mind? What assumptions you had?
Zero. I had zero assumptions. I just natural, I guess a natural talent or ability to just not really see people with what somebody told me they were. Um, I just went with what do I have that I can give?
Hmm.
I never looked at it that way. Even here in South Carolina, we partnered with a group called Beyond Basic. It's an adult special needs learning group. So they have everybody from on the spectrum with autism to Down syndrome and many, many other things. And so it took me 2 years of getting them to come try my class because I didn't want to give up. I knew that something about this group was amazing and I wanted them to come train. And it was when they came to take class, I had the same expectations as my students. No, you're going to listen. No, you're going to do this. No, try again. I just have more patience with him. But I don't change what I do. I don't look at them other than this is their name. This is their name. This is their name. And they're amazing people, and that's all that matters. They're here to try. And every student, of all ages, I have two rules. One, first, yes sir, no sir. Establish the discipline, right? Number two, you'll never get in trouble for trying. If you make a mistake, you're never going to get in trouble for making a mistake. Always try. Because it's my job. That's my job as a teacher, is to fix mistakes. If you don't make a mistake, I don't have a job. And so I've always carried that no matter who they are, and it's never changed the way I look at people, and I see far more progress from it.
Now, when you were told to teach half your moves, how did that land for you?
I thought I had a mission and that was it. Really, it really was. I didn't overthink what was happening other than small panic of I have no idea how to teach this person. So I
Mhm.
hope this works. I only know how to teach one way, so I hope this works. And that was it. That's all it was. It's just I never really felt a ton of pressure. It was absolutely obviously a test. I knew my instructor knew what he was doing. So it was absolutely a test. And little did I pay attention that it was a test at that moment. But for me, it was, okay, I got to do this. I have a job to do. He told me this is what I have to accomplish. I've got to do it. No matter what, I've got to do it. Otherwise, I know I'm going to hear about it later.
Now, when you're looking back, what do you think the instructions was really trying to teach?
I think it was about that exact example, having conversations, having interactions, teaching, anything that you do, your ability and style shouldn't change. It's your patience and ideas that change.
Mhm.
So if I had to teach a punch, I still teach a punch and I still have the same expectations. I want this, I want this, I want this. Make sure this happens. But the way I teach will slightly change because whether they have a learning difference or not, everybody learns differently, whether it's auditory, whether it's literary, whether it's visual. There's so many different ways that people prosper in their learning style. So I have to teach that.
Mhm.
Okay, how do I get connected with them that they learn best? So that's the part that it really taught me was, hey, you're still teaching with the same requirements. You're still teaching with the same standards. You just need to teach it a different way that they can understand because everybody learns differently.
Yeah.
If I watch somebody do something, okay, I have an idea, but sometimes I need somebody to walk me through it, right? Everybody has a different learning method.
Yeah, I mean, even as I'm pretty sure you've learned that when you're dealing with those who are autistic, there are two types of learners. There's the visual, and then there's the written. Like if you show them a written thing of a picture of a
Mm-hmm.
move, that's how they'll learn. But then there are those who learn by actually you demonstrating that move, not once, maybe twice, and then it clicks with them.
I would agree and expand on that actually. So over the years of working with people, different variants of autism and Asperger's, I've identified that there's actually multiple levels of learning from sequential learning, attaching numbers and directions in order that allows them to hold on to a pattern. I've found that I have one student, he's a mirror. He will
Mhm.
mirror exactly what you do. It is very, very, very accurate, but I have to get him to mirror it enough times he has it on his own.
Wow.
I can't just show it to him and then he repeats it. No, I have to do it with him and he mirrors me exactly. And so I've learned that there's so many methods and so many ideas of how we connect these movements. And again, it's about patience. I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. If I fail to teach somebody something, it makes me go, okay, let's try this. Let's try this. I don't stop until I figure out how it is that they learn. And then I don't know how, somehow in this library, I hold on to each person's style of learning sometimes. So I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes. Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about that woman that, with Down syndrome for a minute. You talked about how
Mhm,
she celebrated more than you've ever seen. What stayed with you from
mhm.
that reaction?
It really is about celebrating our victories. I think we take too long chasing the big picture. We set this goal that's so huge, and little do we realize that these mini goals, these small steps, is what gets us closer to that big goal.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we don't celebrate those successes. And if we don't, when we fail, we fall harder. When we celebrate the little successes, it reinforces what we're doing in the direction. Hey, we got this one. Great. That means we're one step closer to the big goal. And it feels easier to obtain. It changes the mindset completely in a very positive way. And it's simple, we take for granted what we accomplish every day that for some people is almost impossible. And I think we should appreciate those things, even something as simple as a birthday.
Now, was that moment you started questioning how we define success?
It was attached to the way that success was defined to me, which was very interesting because I've heard of it, but I didn't understand it until those types of examples. Success is what you envision success for you.
Mm.
Success is individual. Success doesn't mean tons of money unless that's your success. Success doesn't mean a house and 50 cars unless that's your definition. That's what you want to stand as success. For me, doing what I'm doing right now and what I've accomplished so far, I'm very successful. I don't have a ton of money. I don't have, 50 schools. One day, one day I'll have it. But for now, I still feel successful in what I'm doing.
Now, in the neurodivergent and disability community, small wins can mean everything.
Mhm.
Why do you think systems often overlook those moments?
I think a lot of times people get so stuck in one picture. Like we talked about earlier about, putting labels on things.
Mhm.
And so when people put labels on things, they feel that there's sub labels underneath or definition to that label. And so they get stuck in those things. I had a kid that was uh, pretty good from what I heard, Special Olympics, did very well, but the mom said, I'm the first person to ever hold him accountable.
Mm.
I'm the first person to ever treat him like, hey, do better. I know you can. I'm the only person that pushed him beyond his laziness. And he was very, very smart and he knew what they were doing. And he had coaches that would treat him differently. He had coaches that would treat him softer and
Mm.
he would abuse it. He would get away with things because he knew that they would treat him, for lack of terrible words, special. No, he's a person that needs to grow. And we need to stop putting these definitions with the label. We need to understand that each person is still unique. Each person is still individual. They have goals. One thing I encourage all parents, every parent I've ever talked to that's come across my table with a child that's been diagnosed with autism of any kind, I say martial arts may not be for them,
Mm.
but don't stop looking for hobbies. Don't stop looking for activities. You will find one they connect with. And when you do, that will be the branch that creates a better relationship between the parent and the child That's what will create a stronger dynamic of understanding what's going on in their mind. When they latch onto something that they love and they're passionate about, they are really passionate. And I think that's something we can take from that is uh, those who are non-neurodivergent don't hold and chase their passions. They just, oh, the world says I gotta go to work. Oh, I gotta go home and sleep. I gotta get up, go to work. And they don't chase their passions the same way. And so I think it's there's something to be taught and learned in everything that we do.
Now, how did that experience change the way you see progress in others?
I think it's about connecting and creating that relationship. Once I create a level of connection and relationship, I can see what they're chasing. For some people, it's confidence. I have an adult female working a job she didn't like, was underappreciated, overworked, underpaid. Her goal with the martial arts was not to beat people up. Her goal was to find herself, to find her self-worth, her value. Now she works at a bigger company. Now she gets paid more money because we pushed her beyond what she was comfortable with. She wanted to stay in that box. She wanted to stay comfortable. And life is uncomfortable. And we got to get comfortable with uncomfortable.
Now, what about yourself?
I struggle a lot. I'm not perfect. When I took my 3 year break, I was questioning, why am I doing this? What is it? Is it really my passion? Is it really my dream? And little did I know that teaching and being around martial arts was a part of my own mental health as it is for others. I went into a huge depression. I mean, didn't go to work for a week straight. Now, I watched the show House, which is a lot of seasons, but I watched it back to back. I didn't get hardly any sleep. It was very destructive. If I don't chase my passion, if I don't bring life into my everyday, it is a harder struggle than what it's worth. Why make things harder for ourselves?
Now, have you noticed ways schools or programs unintentionally limit people by focusing on defects instead of growth?
Absolutely. I believe that there's too many people that as simple as changing the tone in their voice.
Mhm.
I see it all the time. Somebody is introduced to them and they say this label that they have, and all of a sudden their tone of voice changes as if they're going to understand you differently. No, they want to get to know you and they want you to get to know them. And we put these masks on that we think is helping their disability, it's helping their understanding. No, it doesn't do any of that. And that then starts spiraling into excuses. Oh, it's okay. You don't have to do that. It's okay. Don't try this. Don't try that. No, it's not up to us as instructors to put limits on them unless it's due to their absolute safety, right? Unless it's something that's dire, absolute safety. No, let them try it because just like everyone else, they may fall, but the lesson of learning to get back up is just as important.
Now, what would it look like if the systems were built around celebrating progress instead?
I think we would see a lot more joy. Really, I think we would see. I watch a few content creators, and something really hit me about the idea that we've taken joy out of the world so much that if you honestly want to give somebody something, a stranger, they immediately go to what's the catch, right? They immediately go to uh, you're just trying to, date me or you're trying to get something from me because we removed joy and positivity so much that we immediately jump on to negativity. We immediately have this predisposition that the world is evil. And I think with small actions will, fall into big actions, starting as simple as celebrating those small victories, creating a mindset of, hey, everything's going great. This mistake, but 10 wins, I'm good.
Now, do you see that moment at 16 as the beginning of your identity as a teacher or something really deeper?
It was my first response was immediately deeper. My first response was not that I'm just a teacher. My first response was I want to do this for the rest of my life because I'm changing people's lives
Hmm.
one at a time. And I truly believe that I'm changing people's lives for the better. And I've always held on to that. So when people say, hey, you should do this program, or hey, you should do this program, when it goes in the direction that's against what I believe, I say no. I fight against it. And a lot of times I lose students over it. There's the fun school down the street that has, great music and easy little responsibility. Cool, go there. I'm not changing because I'm changing lives and this is how you do it.
When did it become clear that this was about values and not a role?
Um, I would say a big part of that transition came from time and age. Uh, Doing this for over 20 years, uh, closing in on 40. So not too bad. I'm doing pretty good. Um, Having students I've never talked to in a long time reach out to me and say thank you. Having parents reach out to me and say, hey, here's an update. So and so is going to college, or so and so is joining the military, or so and so opened a business. It's one of those things that sometimes seeing its effect isn't in front of you.
Hmm.
You just have to believe. And years of dedication, the results will come in, which is hard for a lot of people. That no, I want it now. This is what we've been taught. I want it now. Not realizing that time and effort makes bigger things happen.
Now, you're involved in non-for-profit work. How does what you do today connect back to that early experience?
Uh, it started really in my childhood. So growing up in a poor home, we couldn't afford Christmas presents all the time. And so as I got older, I stopped believing in Santa Claus. I'm like, no way. And my dad pulled me aside and he goes, I bet you he's real. And I'm like, no. He goes, let's make a bet. I said, sure. He told me the year you got a baseball bat, a glove, and a baseball, we couldn't afford Christmas. And because of the program, somebody was able to buy it for you on a giving tree. That is the spirit of Christmas.
Hmm.
Therefore, Santa Claus is real. And I was like, oh no. And so at that moment, I was like, I need to be a part of these things. And somebody did this to me and it changed my life. So I want to be a part of it. So, giving trees, I'm a part of them. I work with a Star Wars nonprofit group where we wear costumes. And I did it for a while where we would show up at children's hospitals. We'd go to charity events in costume called the 501st. Love it to death. Love being a part of the community doing that. Working with the Beyond Basic nonprofit group. Love it to death because if I don't strengthen and better my community, then I don't have a future for my kids. I have, as a father, I want my kids to have a community that raises them up. So I have to work on my community in order to do that.
Was there a moment when you realized that impact needed to extend beyond individual teaching moments?
Absolutely. Part of the things that I strive for is a mission that my instructor started and my grandmaster started, which is, pushing beyond our school, creating a program that allows students across the country to do martial arts, to allow adults to do martial arts, to have legislature to put martial arts in schools, to help increase confidence in school, to go with legislature to have a certified board licensing group where if you're going to own a martial arts school and you're going to be an instructor in your state, you have to go through a licensing process so we can get rid of these fake, false martial artists that are just chasing money, not helping people grow. And so I believe that yes, I'm doing it here. Yes, I'm doing it one student at a time, but I really believe that there's more beyond what I'm doing that needs to happen.
Now, what does the nonprofit allow you to do that you couldn't do alone?
So my instructor paid for me. He paid for my tuition. Now, I handed out flyers and worked for him, but he, out of his own pocket, paid for my tuition, paid for my testings. When I went to tournaments, he paid for those, new uniforms, you name it. I would imagine he would do it for everyone if he could afford it. I grew up that way with him, and I wanted to do the same. And so I helped 3 or 4 students out of my own pocket, cut their bill, understood their problem of where they're at financially. Unfortunately, my school didn't survive that way. And with changing this into a nonprofit dynamic, I can pull money from resources, whether it's from a grant or a sponsorship from a corporation or donations. I can use that to do the same thing without closing my doors. I can keep the school open while helping, like I said, kids, adults, and families. My goal is not to just make it a kids only program. I don't want kids just to benefit from free classes. I think adults need it just as much. And so creating this program is going to help me be able to do that without filing bankruptcy, of course.
Now, how do you define success there when progress isn't always visible?
When it comes down to it, a good example of that is I teach Mudokwan Taekwondo. It's a stand-up, kind of like karate. Progress is pretty tangible. It's very identifiable. It's very simple and straightforward. The second martial art I teach is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I hated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I started. Hated it. And to this day, out of all the martial arts I've ever done, I still do Jiu-Jitsu. It is the most frustrating martial art you ever do because it's exactly that. You have no idea if your progression is there. So you have to have belief in the people around you that are telling you that you're doing the right things. Your community and the people that you have around you will remind you, yes, you are going in the right direction. Yes, you are accomplishing things. Yes, you are getting towards your goal point.
Mm-hmm.
And in life, we need that. People say, show me your 10 closest friends, I'll show you your future, right? It's really true. Surround yourself by the people that believe in you. Surround yourself by the people that want the same goal as you.
Now, when you think back about that 16-year-old version of yourself today, what do you think they'd be most surprised by?
So funny story. I'm a nerd. If you can't tell with the glasses. I'm talking Dungeons and Dragons, played violin, like absolute dorkiest of the dorks, if you think of it, right? So my mile in high school was 18 minutes. That's right, I walked. So I started from a place of no athleticism at all. I had to work very hard in everything I could do. I couldn't kick above my knee. So it was very, very exciting at 16 to kick above head level, to be completely shaped physically and mentally, a different person that I didn't think I could ever achieve.
Now, what lesson from that first experience still guides you now?
Uh, it's new lessons really now. Um, Pushing onto 40, it's I'm not 16 anymore, and it's okay. It's okay not to do the things I did when I was 16. As long as I hold on to the traditions that were given to me at 16, as long as I hold the same requirements to other people, I'm not going to jump in the air, backflip, and fall on my back and then jump back up and I'm okay. No, it'll take me about a week to get back off the ground if I just lay down. So it's humbling to sit there and go, I can't do those things. And I have to fight my mind a lot of times. Hey, I know up here it says you should be able to, but the rest of this says no. So it's really humbling and part of me is like I wish I had that captured for people. But the cool part is just like your podcast, I have to tell it through stories in order for people to know what I was and what I was doing then.
Now, if listeners take one thing away from your story, what would you hope it is?
The one thing I learned a long time ago is the hardest step in martial arts, the most difficult thing you're ever going to do in martial arts is to step on the mat. And I think that lesson goes in everything we do. If there's something that you want to chase, if there's a passion that you have, the hardest thing you're ever going to do chasing that dream is taking a step towards it. Once you take that first step, it's so much easier. So much easier. The fear goes down a bit, the confidence goes up because you took that first step.
And finally, where can people find out more about you and the work you do?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to what we're doing, we're creating a program, the Iron Spirit Fellowship Foundation. What it's going to do is allow us to be able to pay for scholarship tuitions in the martial arts school. We're starting with my school, but our goal is eventually to outgrow our area and provide and connect with other martial arts schools throughout the country to help pay for other people to do that. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram. Right now, we have a GoFundMe going in order to raise the funds. We've actually reached an important goal already. We hit our first $1,000, so we can pay for our existence as a business and licensing. So we're stepping in the right direction for it.
And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Reed Miles, and that was Joseph Galloway, and I'll see you in the next one. And I just want to remind everybody, you're never alone. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.